The most significant challenges we're currently facing are big geopolitical events like the tariffs with the US. Trade barriers don't stop business. They force smarter strategies. We design supply chains that can absorb shocks, not just react to them. For Canadian companies in particular, building strong local supplier networks, we have labor shortages, talent gaps, which is why we're here at the college, right? Filling those talent gaps. This industry has so much potential, and it's up to us to help shape what comes next.
Welcome to the Legacy Podcast, where we bring you insightful conversations with industry leaders, innovators, and change makers shaping the future. I'm your host, Raisa Frida, and this episode is proudly brought to you by MCG Career College, where we empower future professionals through hands-on education and career-focused training. Today, we have an incredible guest joining us. She's a nationally recognized expert in supply chain and value chain management with nearly 25 years of experience helping businesses navigate risks, disruptions, and complex global operations. From implementing best-in-class governance systems to tackling procurement fraud, she has worked with major organizations to create resilient and agile supply chains. Please welcome Stephanie Forbes, CEO of the Forbes Group, speaker and advisor, who's here to share her insights on the future of supply chain management, Canada's path to supply chain independence, and how businesses can stay ahead in a rapidly changing world. Stephanie, welcome to the Legacy Podcast. How are you today?
I'm fantastic, and thank you so much for having me. It's a great pleasure.
Thank you so much for being here with us. Well, I will start with the first question. With nearly 25 years in supply and value chain management, what inspired you to enter this field, and how has your perspective evolved over the time?
Great question. So I was drawn to this role called junior buyer that was posted. And I thought to myself, wouldn't that be fantastic? Somebody's actually paying me to buy stuff.
Wow.
So from there, I thought it was obviously the coolest job. It was the blend of problem solving, strategy, tangible impact. Of course, over time, my perspective changed. I was drawn into major project procurement, where I did big strategy. I helped major projects move through strategy, risk, building resilience. Now I help businesses turn supply chain challenges into opportunities, and now we build really robust, resilient, adaptable value chains.
That's great to know. Now that brings me to the next question, which is about managing global disruptions. Supply chain disruptions are becoming more frequent. As you know, we can see it all over the news. What are the biggest challenges businesses face today, and what proactive strategies can they adopt to build resilience?
That is the most timely question of the day. The most significant challenges we're currently facing are big geopolitical events, like the tariffs with the US. It doesn't just extend to the US and our tariff situation. You also have events like Chinese cargo being confiscated in Russia on trains as it makes its way to the EU. So it's not just regional to us, it's global instability. We have extreme weather, predominantly fire, flood. We have labor shortages, talent gaps, which is why we're here at the college, right? Filling those talent gaps. We have conflicts and war. The Geneva Academy is currently monitoring 110 active conflicts. And we know some of them, like Ukraine and Gaza, while others, they've been going on for 50 years. But there's a lot of conflicts throughout the world that are impacting our ability to have robust supply chains. We have things like cybersecurity threats, end-to-end value chain visibility, regulatory changes, ESG, sustainability, modern slavery, Bill C-59. Then we've got transportation blockages, congestion at major ports, rising fuel costs, and we have compromised networks and routes. So when we take all of that into consideration, we need to make sure that we design supply chains that can absorb shocks, not just react to them. And the way that we do that is through very proactive strategies. Those strategies are going to look like diversification. So that's nearshoring or reshoring. That's strategic planning. That's modeling disruptions and their outcomes before they happen and making a plan to mitigate those disruptions. And agility. You have to be able to pivot quickly today.
Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, for sharing those. Now, the elephant in the room is tariffs and barriers. So, tariffs and trade policies have a major impact on global supply chain. How are businesses adapting to these agents and changes? And what strategies can Canadian companies use to mitigate risks?
So let me start off by saying trade barriers don't stop business. They force smarter strategies. So keeping that in mind, businesses are adjusting to the new landscape. They're reevaluating their sourcing models, in many cases bringing business operations closer to home. Like I said in the previous answer, nearshoring or reshoring. They're also making better use of existing trade agreements. So CETA, which is the Canadian-European Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement, that's a mouthful. That's between Canada and 27 European member nations. Then you have the CPTPP, a lot of P's in that one, the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnerships. So that's Canada and 11 Pacific Rim countries. So when you take into account these other trade agreements we have, they minimize cost, they maximize market access, and the key here really is technology. That's going to play a pivotal role in moving through some of these disruptions that we're facing. So companies need to, in real time, do cost analysis, do scenario planning so they can make smarter, faster decisions. For Canadian companies in particular, building strong local supplier networks are critical to reducing exposure to global volatility. Investments in automation and artificial intelligence is another important strategy, helping improve operational efficiency and agility. At the same time, Canadian firms must take an active role in advocating for policies that support open trade, long-term economic resilience, both with other provinces and territories as well as with other nations.
Well, that reminds me of Canada's supply chain independence. So there is a growing conversation around Canada building a more self-sufficient supply chain. So what steps do you think Canada should take to reduce dependency on global suppliers and strengthen maybe their own domestic manufacturing?
Well, first of all, Canada's approach should not be isolation, but intentional investment in key industries that enhance national resilience. Sectors such as pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, manufacturing represent critical areas where domestic capabilities must be strengthened. At the same time, maintaining, developing, and leveraging partnerships, particularly through trade agreements. It's essential to balance local strength with global reach. Supporting research and development is also going to be a key factor. Canada can accelerate innovation by offering targeted tax credits for automation, artificial intelligence, and other technologies designed to improve supply chain performance. Building self-sufficiency doesn't mean cutting ties with global trade. It means having a domestic backbone strong enough to support global ambitions. So strategic self-sufficiency will always beat isolation. Canada really does need a hybrid approach.
I see. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Well, you have talked about technologies quite a bit of time. If we could have that technology that could solve all our supply chain problems, that would be great. As you know that from AI to ERP systems, technology is transforming the industry. What innovations excite you the most, and how can companies leverage technology to enhance supply chain operations?
Technology won't replace supply chain leaders, but those who use it well will replace those who don't. Technology is fundamentally reshaping the supply chain landscape. Innovations such as predictive analytics, AI, allow companies to move from reactive to proactive by forecasting disruptions, identifying opportunities, all before they emerge. Blockchain is creating new levels of end-to-end transparency, while the Internet of Things and automation are enabling real-time tracking and smarter warehouse operations. The companies that benefit the most from these tools are the ones that start small, piloting before they scale. They invest in training their teams, how to use the technology. Not just use it, but use it effectively. It's not about the latest software, it's about building digital fluency across the organization, not just in silos. Equally important is ensuring data integrity. Clean, reliable data is the foundation for every successful technology initiative. In today's environment, digital transformation is not optional. It's a key to staying competitive and relevant and resilient.
Well, thank you so much for sharing those tips. Now, I do have a question about a challenge the industry is facing, and that is about procurement fraud. Well, it is a hidden but significant threat. What are some red flags businesses should look out for, and what best practices can help mitigate these risks?
Good question. Procurement fraud is very difficult often to detect, but there usually are some pretty clear warning signs, or at least flags that businesses should watch for. These can include anything from unusual supplier relationships, such as a vendor winning a disproportionate number of bids, as well as vague or inflated invoices, which reappear consistently. A lack of independent audits often signals broader governance gaps that leave organizations vulnerable. So fraud really thrives in the opaque. Transparency is always the antidote. To mitigate fraud risks, companies must implement strong internal controls, including segregation of duties, so that no single individual has access to end-to-end procurement authority. This is about increasing data analytics and AI tools to flag anomalies in spend patterns, regularly do compliance reviews. Fraud is rarely just about one bad actor. It's often the result of a weak system. So closing those gaps is going to be essential to protecting both integrity and value in your organization.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, for sharing those strategies. Now it's time for me to ask you for one advice. With MCG Career College offering a global operations and supply chain diploma, what advice you would give to our students or people who wants to get into this field?
Good question. My advice to young professionals entering the field of supply chain today would probably focus on building strong foundation in data analytics. The ability to interpret information and make decisions based on real-time insights is an absolute game changer in today's fast-moving environment. Another must-have is agility. The industry evolves rapidly, and those who can pivot quickly will find themselves at the forefront of our industry and of opportunity. So supply chain isn't just about logistics, it's the foundation for global business. I would also add, networking is essential. Building relationships with mentors and industry peers opens doors and accelerates career growth. Finally, take time to understand global markets, from tariffs, trade, sustainability trends. Supply chain leaders today must think beyond the warehouse walls. And this is an industry where strategy meets execution. Those who can think big while delivering results will thrive immeasurably.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for sharing those. You know, I'm learning so much from you that it's not about just having the best software or, just knowing a lot of technology, but it's also about knowing what's going on in the world, having networking and all those kind of things. Because I noticed that when students are in school, they are very focused on only learning the skills and those contents, but they should also learn about external factors, because there's so many things can happen, right? It's not about you that you know everything the best, but there could be a whole new rules or policies or something, or political unrest that's going on that's stopping your ship to come here, right? So how do you overcome those challenges, right? So there's a lot of complex things out there. Now it's time for me to ask you the last question. And this is normally my favorite question during podcast. This is about your legacy. I know that your impact on supply chain industry is significant. What legacy do you want to leave behind, and what would inspire the future generations?
So I guess to answer your question straight up, redefining supply chain from a cost center to a strategic driver, that's my legacy. I want to leave a legacy that helps move supply chain as a core business function. I want it to lead innovation. I want it to lead resilience. And that really means elevating supply chain leadership to the boardroom, where decisions about procurement, logistics, and value creation belong. A major part of my work helps moving companies from being reactive and problem solving to proactive risk preparedness. I'm committed to sharing what I've learned. And actually, I haven't told you this yet, but I've actually finished my first draft of a book that I'm writing.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So I think we're going to start
What is the book about?
So it's all about value chain. So working copy title is the Value Chain Playbook. And it's all practical applications around strategy, tactical opportunities, negotiation, dealing with market forces like inflation, global changes, how to measure key metrics. So look for that next year. I, of course, will keep you apprised on that. So that's going to be the cornerstone for my legacy, is developing that piece of literature, which will be heavily focused on case studies and workshop creation to help people globally learn about value chain and supply chain and how to use it within their business. I hope I can inspire future leaders to approach supply chain with confidence, strategy, and vision. I've helped, I think, make meaningful contributions, and I would like to continue that for the remainder of my career. This industry has so much potential, and it's up to us to help shape what comes next.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing this very inspiring insight of yours.
Thank you, Raisa, for having me. Truly a pleasure.
Thank you. Stephanie, this has been incredible conversation. Thank you so much. Your insights on supply chain resilience, fraud prevention, and the role of technology have been very eye-opening. Now, if our audience or listeners wants to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you?
Well, I'm pretty easy to find. I'm Calgary Forbes on both LinkedIn and Instagram. And I encourage anyone to reach out if they want some advice. They can go to my website, which is theforbesgroup.ca. They can reach out to me as well on that platform as well if they would like speaking engagements, workshops, or any other thing that's listed on there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I will be waiting for the book.
You'll get your first copy.
Thank you. We are very lucky to have you here. Now, to our viewers and listeners out there, if you liked this video, this podcast, feel free to share, like, and comment. If you have any question, you know where to find Stephanie. And keep doing one thing. Keep building your legacy while making the communities great.
MCG, making communities great.